My name's Garrett Lang. I'm a I started my career as a software developer. I'm now a serial entrepreneur after having a career as an award-winning software inventor. I'm in North Jersey. My hobby is writing and discussing practical philosophy, which led me to found the Freethinker Institute, which is the group that brings you tonight's event. This event is, and basically we want to support and empower members to be always be polite, be the best version of ourselves, to seek truth, not to be right, but to seek to be right, but to seek truth, which makes us closer to more right more often, and then to be fair through transformational personal and professional development. We have free events like this one every Tuesday evening, covering a wide range of topics not typically covered in academia or industry. And we have weekly members only events where we apply practical wisdom into our daily lives. Um, I'm going to put a quick link about the Freethinker Institute into the chat for anyone that wants to learn more about us. Membership is free, so there's no cost to being a member. And it's a nice new friend group that you can create of people who are peer coaches and mentors. We all kind of help each other. I like to say, if we don't help each other, who's going to help us? So, if you are in North Jersey, we have, or in New York City, we have in-person events in North Jersey and New York City. And so you can email me if you want invites to that, or just join the Freethinker Institute meetup, which is our primary meetup. And we have only one rule, which I will ask everyone to follow tonight, and that is to remain polite. You have a lot more to learn. We all have a lot more to learn by asking someone why they came to their conclusion than we do, and trying to ask thoughtful questions with empathy than we do saying you're right or you're wrong, I'm right, and this is why. Um, and uh, and so, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and share the process by which we agreed we would seek truth in these events last week. We want to listen first, speak second. We want to talk about what's a fact versus what's belief, what is evidence versus what's interpretation. We want to question everything, including our own views. And someone's not on mute. Jennifer, I'm going to mute you. Um, Let me just get my windows all in a row. Leah, can you close the door? And then we don't want any personal attacks. We want to critique ideas, not the people. Calling someone's idea dumb is critiquing the person, because you're saying someone holds an opinion that is dumb. So no personal attacks, in no indirect personal attacks. We really want to just ask thoughtful questions about different ideas to understand why someone believes something. If we think it's outrageous, the thoughtful questions go a lot further than, criticizing even the idea. If you can ask a question that, that idea can't be answered logically along with believing in that idea, then you've actually maybe made some headway into showing that the person doesn't have a good stance to ground to stand on. Better to treat disagreements as puzzles, not battles. This comes into the questioning of ideas rather than the criticizing of ideas or the trying to take down ideas. These are nonpartisan rules. It's just good thinking ideas. We want to distinguish between claims of truth, observable facts. So we want to look for source attribution. Where does the information come from, and is it biased? Is it a biased source? We want to look at what conclusions can we draw from the facts that we're pulling together, and then we want to look at judgment and opinion. So what should be done based on what we've learned? Let's try to save this until the last like 30 minutes of the night. Although I have to say, guys, like just starting out, I have a huge event tomorrow. I have a 100-person networking event that I'm helping coordinate, and I'm building the software for it. And so it's not. I may need to end early tonight. Let's put it that way. So, um, evidence first. We want to focus on claims about objective reality. Cite the source before stating the claim. Primary sources count more than summaries. And if someone challenges the evidence, let's agree to look it up together. If something is, top of mind for everybody, we can look it up with my sh screen shared. But I also want to encourage everyone to sort of be able to multitask and like take a few minutes to do your own fact checking and do your own searching for data. That's how we can truthfully, that's how we can seek truth together more effectively, is by everyone being able to like do their own searching and looking for sources that are relevant to a topic or an area of conversation, and then bring those sources in. Just jump in. The way that we do conversation is each time someone has their hand up, then that person will get to introduce a new topic or a thought, or ask a new question. And then we stay on that topic where people can just respond kind of naturally. When someone stops speaking, you can just jump in. And then once that topic has kind of been discussed adequately, then I'll move on to the next hand. And that way we can have a conversation even amongst 40 something people and still have a fluid conversation about a topic. And we can also make sure that everybody who has their hand up gets to introduce their topic. Um, so neutral evaluation period, we want to look at protocol. We want to look at our sources credible. Is the source credible? Is there consensus? Is there good evidence quality, or is it weak evidence? Um, and are there alternative explanations, and what assumptions are being made? So we want a shared vocabulary. So if we have disagreement on vocab, we can try to get to what are the different definitions being used. And if there's not an overwhelming majority with one definition, we can treat both definitions as two separate topics and cover one after the other. We're agreeing on process here, not the outcome. It doesn't matter what any of us necessarily think now. What matters is, do we learn from each other tonight, at least to learn why other people have different opinions than us. And then we want to document the claims and the evidence, the sources of evidence. And so what I'm going to do is create a Google Doc where we can seek truth together. And I'm going to try to let people sort of do a kind of a chance of and I started keeping notes of examples of this from the last time. But basically, we want to start with clear definitions, clear claims, and clear opinions, and start by asking and clarifying questions. And I guess I'm going to probably start with a question to start the conversation off of, should we have taken the military action that we did in Iran as the sort of leading question, because I think that's probably on a lot of people's minds. And then we can ask clarifying questions about definitions used. We can break the problem down to say, look at the problem in, and what I would suggest is when people raise their hand, consider saying, I want to break the problem down into smaller pieces. Like, okay, if you're asking, should we have, started this military conflict with Iran? Well, here are the three things that we should think about when we're deciding that, right? And so we can dig into like breaking the problem down into smaller pieces so that we can more adequately make a decision. So, um, in and then we can all, and so that's the second one, which is that I just covered. And then judgment, like, do we agree or disagree with the assertion and the rationale? And that way people can put into the Google Doc like what they agree with and what they don't. If people are willing to add their opinions to the Google Doc, that would be great. And then how does this issue get prioritized amongst other issues, is another, sort of thing to think about. So that said, I'm gonna start a Google Doc where let me I have a way of doing this. Bear with me 1 second with a logistical issue. Um, okay. Oh, uh, so these are kind of the tools that we have. And I'm going to share this with everybody with commenter access, which means everybody can go in. And I'm going to start with assertion or question. So,
Jared, I hate
should
to ask
we?
you, but is it possible to increase the font on the,
Yes, uh, not that much.
thank you.
Yep. So should we have started military action in Iran? I'm going to ask someone to try to break it down into like, what are the questions? First, we must answer the following questions. So what questions do you think we should answer in order to know whether or not we should have started a military action in Iran? And you feel free to speak out because there are no hands up. I'll just ask if anyone has some questions that you think we should answer.
Was the United States under threat of imminent attack or danger? Should it have been done without consultation? Should it have been done at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Well, I think those are separate questions, but
Yeah,
Yes,
they
they
are.
the first one's a good one. Were we under imminent attack? Um,
What other questions should we answer? And
was Iran a threat, an imminent threat to any of our allies?
Well, that's a different question.
Well,
yes,
the first question is, should we have started military action in Iran? So your first one's a good one. Is the U.S. under threat?
right.
Or our allies under threat?
Okay.
These all might be reasons why. Was Iran in violation of international law or war crimes, committing war crimes? Not
I,
war crimes,
I have a
humanitarian crimes, however
question.
you want to put it.
No, you have to specify what you mean because I don't know what you mean without you saying it.
Okay, well, does anyone think it's controversial that in the last couple of weeks, when there was the protest, that Iran killed tens of thousands of protesters? Is that a violation of any type of human rights type of law that people would recognize?
I don't see any disagreement to that, and it is a violation. I don't see it as a justification
That's
for
fine.
us.
Well,
Okay.
let's just list out all the questions and then we can tackle them one at a time. I mean,
I have a question.
go ahead, Sherry.
Okay, I think an important question is the U.S. Thinking regarding international conflicts in in uh, in recognizing international law. I think that's a very common thing for us to set aside international law when it regards our actions, and I think that's a bad thing to do because the U.S. should be validating international law, not breaking it. By
Can I add to
definition, this is a
Sean
war of
and
aggression, and that's illegal by international law.
yeah, can I add to Sean and Sherry? I think
Sure.
they're on the right track. Just one more level is where's the due process? I mean, we had the Nuremberg trials for the Nazis. So adding to their suggestion, where did the due process occur that determined we should execute somebody?
Are you
When you say
suggesting like we should have had like a Nuremberg process for the Ayatollahs versus attack them, Don?
Well, it had to occur somewhere. Did it occur inside a cabal or something in the Trump administration? Somebody made the due process decision. But I'm just questioning who and where and what and how.
So you're saying why, like, where was the decision made? Who made the decision to start the military action and why?
Hmm.
I love that question, to be honest, and I would
Well,
be
it's
curious to know
called,
whether or not
you
there's
know,
transparency about that. Like, I think that's
if
actually
you're
like the first question we should be asking is, why was this decision made? Right? Like, let's understand that.
Precipitously. It was made precipitously. I
Well,
don't think we've ever taken military action precipitously like this before,
well,
except maybe
let's
after Pearl Harbor.
let's dig into this. Why, and if there are any other questions, feel free. Or any other questions people want to add, feel free to just jump in. But I think the first one we should answer is why was this decision made? Like, what was the rationale given? Um, does that does everyone
Could I
agree
ask a
that?
question? Could I
Was
ask?
this constitutional?
Yeah.
Was it legal?
Well, I don't think you all heard that the blame has been put on Israel. They started the, you know, the attack of Iran, and the United States is now saying, well, we had to defend servicemen in the Middle East because Israel started this attack. So that's
I
what
don't,
they're saying now.
I don't think
Let's,
Israel started the attack. I think they were
No, they
they
do
said
say
that
they
they were
say that.
concerned
You
that
know,
they
you
would.
can argue that's not what happened. I'm telling you what they're saying.
yeah, we want to understand what the rationale, and I think it's good to, like, if there are no other questions people want to ask, I think it's good to dig into the why this decision was made. So,
Could I ask a question?
you can. You
I,
did
I
ask
thought
one,
that
but go ahead.
I thought this was common knowledge, but apparently not. I don't know if everyone here knows about, and I don't remember his name, the retired general who was visiting a friend at the Pentagon, who said, "Well, I just got this from upstairs. These are the list of countries, and this is we're talking about the permanent government, not any individual administration." He said the plan going forward is to attack and defeat these five, or there's maybe seven countries, and Iran was the last one remaining on the list that we hadn't yet. Is everyone familiar with that statement by a retired general who said that this was in the works now for a couple of decades at least? More than that, I'm not good at time, but that there was a list put out in the military, a plan coming from the government, not from the military, that these are
It
the
was what
targets.
Wesley Clark,
That's it.
General
That's it.
Wesley Clark.
So not everybody knows this apparently. There's a video of him explaining it.
You talking about in the early 2000s, Dave Smith talks about this all the time, that there's a bunch of countries we were trying to get rid of, and Iran was one of them. Is that right,
It's the
Sherry?
last one on the list, in fact.
Yeah.
Garrett, I
So
have a
that
question.
What was that? What was the question there, Sherry?
my question is, I thought, is this common knowledge that this was a long-term plan? And is it common knowledge that, in fact, any administration at this point had that last country on the list that we had not yet made part of our hegemony plans? And I think it was basically a long-term plan to attack Iran, not a sudden decision made by anyone in
Yeah,
particular.
that was
That's
a
what I'm
plan
May I also
designed by
Garrett, may I
Israel.
also add to the conversation?
Sure.
Isn't the Congress only the entity who is allowed, I mean, supposedly allowed to declare a war against another country? What about that as a part of the conversation?
So Congress,
Sure.
Congress is the only one allowed to declare war, but the president is allowed to make military actions, like short-term military actions, as the commander in chief. So that was the auspices under which this was done. We did not declare war with Iran, in spite of some people using that language. We have not declared war. War can only be declared with the approval of Congress. And what that means is that the president has a limited time frame and essentially amount of money that he can spend on this military action before it has to get approved by Congress, because Congress controls the budget.
Yes,
If
that's
we've
true.
been attacked.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think we've declared war in decades.
Query
Since
what
World War
difference
II.
it makes, if any, that the current president himself called it a war. I don't know. Legally, I don't know.
As did his Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
You mean his Secretary of War?
Thank you,
Yeah,
right?
right. In the
Yeah,
60s,
World
when
War
we
II
were
was the
in,
last war. Everything else was a military
Yes.
conflict.
yeah,
Well,
in the
World War
60s,
II.
they were very careful about calling it a conflict, not a war. And it was for that reason. And I don't think that we can assume that whatever the policies were in place 20 years ago are still in place now under this administration.
So let's see. Um,
And if they claim the War Powers Act is not constitutional, then it goes back to the Constitution and win that too, by the way, which hasn't been challenged legally yet. And if they win that, it goes back to the Constitution, and the Constitution again says only Congress can declare war, and only the president can send military if we are being attacked.
Yeah, I think they're going to make the argument that there was an imminent strike that was going to happen, and they knew that I think Israel was going to do an attack, and they knew that Iran's counter to that was going to be to attack everybody, which they currently are doing.
That
And it
looks
argument
like
already has been made. This morning, Trump was saying that there was going to be an attack.
And
Right.
Israel
So-
has attacked Iran several times already, and we didn't do anything then.
Yeah, is that credible at all? Do you
Well,
believe that, Sean?
we are seeing Iran attack everybody around them currently. So I
Well,
think there's some
now, yeah.
credibility to it.
Now, yes.
Right.
You mean before or after we attacked them, Sean?
I'm saying the intelligence was that if Israel did an attack against their leadership, which is what happened, that their counter was going to be to attack everyone in the surrounding region and to attack American bases, and America wherever they could. So our attack was to disable as many of their missile sites to minimize the amount of damage that they could do once the leadership was killed.
I question whether that was the intelligence or whether that was just the current president's claim what the intelligence was. I don't believe a word that man says.
So,
Okay.
but before yeah. So it looks like Iran did not actually, they attack through proxies. They don't attack with their own forces. So it seems like
It says
they
Iran
wouldn't,
generally fights through proxies, right? What
right? But
about what's currently happening?
can you cite a source? Can you cite a source for before the U.S. attacking Iran, for Iran directly attacking its neighbors?
Why would we have to do before a source? This is the first time Iran's leadership has ever been taken out, right?
Has Iran's leadership actually been taken out? Like the Ayatollah is dead and
Yes.
Oh yes,
okay,
the Ayatollah's dead.
Everybody's
The guy they
gone.
named after him has been killed. Their entire leadership council was killed in a big meeting, and just today they had a big electors meeting. I think the council of experts who was going to pick a new leadership, and they blew them up too. So
got it.
absolutely, they're all dead. And this was a retaliation plan set up for if their leadership was ever killed, what would they do?
So what is going on now then? Look, I didn't research this in advance, so
Okay.
yeah, I I would love to hear where we are.
You're right about the proxies. They have a force called the Quds Force that they've had for a while,
Yep,
QUDS, and you're right, Hezbollah, Hamas to some degree, the Houthis are usually proxies that fight on their behalf,
yep,
but they also do have their own military, quite a big military they've set up with like hypersonic missiles, missile launchers, radars. They're fairly they're not a backwater at all.
right.
Fairly high tech.
So are they attacking neighbors now? Is that what you're
That's
saying?
correct.
Okay,
Yes.
They're hitting most
They're
notably. They're
attacking the
hitting.
military bases. They're not
Yeah.
attacking. They're
Okay.
attacking
No.
the military bases in Qatar and in the Gulf states because those are American military bases and Israeli. They're attacking Israel.
All right. What I was about to say before I got interrupted
They've
is they're
attacked other
directly
airports.
attack. Hold on, Jesus. They're directly attacking Saudi Arabia energy infrastructure, which is owned by Saudi Arabia and has nowhere near U.S. air bases. So that prior statement is either old or untrue. They are also attacking other areas that don't have any U.S. air bases. Bahrain, Dubai, Qatar, Kuwait, um, Iraq. There is a U.S. base in Iraq they've attacked before. Jordan's not involved in this at all, in Oman. So they're attacking all the neighboring countries. It feels like the last gasp of a desperate nation, actually.
Yeah, the tallest building in the world, the Burj Khalifa, almost just got hit by missiles over in Abu Dhabi. They're now turning their lights off at night to avoid this stuff. And yeah, of course, Israel's getting hit pretty hard right now.
so basically everybody that has relationships with the U.S.
Yeah, well, Saudi Arabia wasn't going to let us use our bases there until they started shooting missiles into that country. And so now Saudi Arabia is against Iran and they're going to provide support. So they're really eliminating all their possible allies one by one.
I mean,
And to your point, Garrett, they
Well,
may be trying to attack anyone who's allies or even neutral with America.
Hmm.
so to me, what we have is a regional hot war. And the question is, was it necessary? Was it in our best interests? Was it even in the best interests of the world? I, you know, I'm open to hearing the facts, but I'm certainly not going to accept anything that comes out of this administration. If there's intelligence, I want to know where it was coming from.
So does that just
the
mean,
intelligence.
Paul, any word that comes out of Trump's mouth or any intelligence that comes out of the current executive office, or I mean, like, does Marco Rubio count? Does like the Pete Hegseth does anyone in the administration count for anything they would say?
As far as I'm concerned, no, they
Pete
don't.
Hegseth only if he's sober.
I don't believe
Okay.
a word they say. Not one
Sure.
word.
And quite frankly, that's not that often. So
Yeah.
Hey, he might
I
let more slip, Garrett, you know?
does anyone know whether or not that there was a telegram notice before the Iranian bombs went off? Because I didn't get message. Pete missed me.
There
One
you
of the
go.
biggest problems with this is that we can't rely on anything we're being told. Not
It
by
is a
this
it
community.
is a problem when you can't rely on government sources. That becomes when you get to a situation where but I think that's a story for that. Like, we can't tackle that one tonight. That's a whole separate, like, can we trust the government? We actually covered that maybe a month or two ago. So I don't want to revisit that one. So let's avoid that. Let's assume that things that are coming out through the government at least are potentially credible, and then we want to look for independent sources that do or do not agree with them if we think that what they're saying is not true. Now, this is where, like, they say that they had intelligence saying that Iran was going to attack first. So let's see. And so let's see, like, what intelligence they said. I don't know if anyone got the chance to look at the let me put the Time magazine article in the chat in case anyone can look into it about in more detail while we're talking.
What are we
Um,
looking at here?
I'm trying to figure out. So we were asking whether or not it made sense to go to war with Iran, right? Like, why was the decision made to go to war with Iran? And the first assertion was that Iran was going to preemptively strike neighbors, right? Allies. So I wanted to know what evidence is there in support or against that.
Well, I don't think
Um,
it's fair to ask what evidence there is against it. You can't prove a negative. The
well,
question
you
is there
can
evidence
you can
for it?
say that there was, not a you can say that there was no evidence that there was a preemptive strike, and you can say that ongoing negotiations between our treaties with Iran were continuing, and their discussions were ongoing. Those are sort of things that probably wouldn't be happening if they were right about to strike one of our allies. So I think you can't prove a negative logically, Paul, but you can give evidence that a negative is unlikely, that something is unlikely to be true. And so I think looking for evidence that's pro and con does make sense. You're welcome to
So
not submit any con evidence.
we one thing I think we can say there's evidence for is that there was a planned retaliatory strike, because we're seeing evidence of it now. But to your question, Garrett, and this would be worth asking ChatGPT or looking this up. I had heard, and I need to look it up more, that Iran had recently been boasting that they had recently gotten enough nuclear materials, fissionable materials, to create, like, I think 5 nuclear weapons, that they had managed to do this despite many of the sanctions against them. Um, Now, this could be argument that, there's long been warnings that that Iran has been trying to develop a nuclear bomb, and they have often said that they would attack Israel first chance they got.
So it looks
So
like different
that would
explanations.
be a what's that?
Looks like different explanations have been given. Iran was going to attack first as one. Israel was about to attack and Iran would
Hmm.
retaliate was another. The strikes were meant to stop Iran's nuclear program was another. The strikes were aimed to weaken and topple the Iranian regime. Um,
is there any question at all that Iran has been a target of the U.S. going back a long ways? The U.S. has made this statement over a long period that
Of
Iran,
course.
with the claim that it was defensive of Israel to make Iran a target, but that's also a claim. These are all claims. I think everyone knows the saying that the first casualty of war is the truth,
Yeah.
and there's always an explanation given of some sort or another. In this case, it was sort of retroactive explanation. They just went ahead and attacked first. But I don't think it's reasonable given our history and our knowledge of history, to believe that this isn't also an aggression based on false information that's ginned up, the intelligence being ginned up to support the aggression.
Trump
Who could argue that that's not the case? I'd be surprised.
Trump also said, I felt like they were going to hit us.
Yeah.
So
He felt like it was true, and therefore it was true.
I had a
In
dream.
his
I
head.
don't know.
Exactly.
Have
Hopefully
any
that
of the
one was a
attacks
nightmare,
been,
not a dream.
have any
Benjamin
of the attacks
Netanyahu
been
has
on, sorry,
Benjamin Netanyahu has been saying since the 1980s that Iran is like days away, weeks away from getting a nuclear weapon. Since I think as far as back as the 1980s, and
Yep.
he's always had that plan to attack and take out Iran along with Syria, Lebanon, all the Middle East. They want to do their Greater Israel project, as
Mhm.
Mike Huckabee said, and they want to take over the whole Middle East from the Euphrates to the Nile, as the biblical Genesis reference says. So this is all partly because of Israel. And plus, Israel has nuclear weapons. And one of the things that I think they were saying is that Israel said that they were going to do a tactical nuke on Iran to get rid of their nuclear program or whatever. And that's why Trump decided to do like a preemptive attack to protect the Iranians against Israel, because Israel actually has nukes since, and we've known this since the 1960s.
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter said that they have nukes, and their nukes are not regulated by the International Atomic Energy Organization. Their nukes, they have a secret nuclear program, and they have never regulated their nukes.
Yeah. I think, though, it's safe to say that Iran would not launch a nuclear weapon without the US's agreement. Like that would be pretty surprising if they would do that.
Who was that
You mean
speaking? I'd just
Israel,
like
right?
to know. I can't
Yeah,
see on my
Israel.
screen. Who was
Sorry,
that
what?
speaking?
This was Garrett. I was saying Israel wouldn't launch a nuclear weapon without the U.S. being at least somewhat complicit with it, the launching of it.
But who is
Um,
the woman who you're talking to? What's her name?
B, her
B?
name is B.
B? I agree with you in all counts so far. I agree with you on all counts.
I would just say in response to B, yes, it's true that Israel has often said that Iran is trying to develop nuclear weapons to attack them. And they have been saying that for quite a while. And each time that they've gotten close, you'll notice that either America or Israel has taken steps to prevent them from doing so, whether by doing airstrikes. I think Israel did was it the Suspect virus they did on their systems that took down all of their research facilities. And then, like, what was it? 6, 8 months ago, we did the strikes on their facilities in the mountains, their nuclear enrichment things. So, yes, they've been saying it for a while, and also steps have been taken to prevent them from doing it. So it's not as if this has just been hollow words.
I don't know if that's exactly the sequence of events because my understanding is that for years Iran had nuclear, like they were within weeks of they had all the equipment to enrich to weapons grade nuclear weapons, and they were choosing not to, like consciously choosing not to.
I think
Um,
that's accurate. And Scott Ritter, does everyone know who Scott Ritter is? The UN's weapons inspector? I've met him here. He came to my town and I listened very closely to what he was saying. And he was actually on the ground there when claims were being made about Iran developing or getting the ability to produce nuclear weapons. And he said, in fact, that is a narrative and it is a propaganda, but they did a thorough inspection and found that it was not the case. And in fact, Iran was producing nuclear capacity to produce energy. And it was what the weapons inspectors found to be the case. And they have
Yeah,
agreed at all points not to move that capacity into a military capacity, but to use it for energy like other countries do.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'd
right.
like to see some sources, statement of fact that of what you just said, Sean, about their capacity to create nuclear weapons.
Just
Because I
posted.
mean, it's been something that's been bandied around throughout the news cycles and throughout different administrations, but I've never seen a definitive yes, they do or they are in the process of developing nuclear weapons. I mean, they were saying that they are, but There's no, without any substantiating evidence.
Renee, I just posted there's a CBS article there for you, Garrett. You can
Oh,
throw
okay.
into fact
Thank
check
you.
there. And comes
By
from
the way,
Steve
CBS
Whitdock.
is right wing now, just to be clear.
Well,
I mean, something is something, and it's a
Yeah,
start
I'm just
because
saying we have
I
to.
mean, I've heard the same thing that Sean has heard, but
Yes,
I've
and
only
I.
Garrett,
heard
throw
it
it.
through like the White
Yeah,
House. It
Garrett,
hasn't been
throw it.
something that an independent source has verified.
Throw it in Chat GPT. That's fine.
I did, and I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying CBS is not a very good source. Frank, you have music going on in the background, so I'm gonna mute you.
One of the
So
unfortunate
Thank you.
realities
one
of
thing
this,
that happened was that Iran signed a nuclear agreement with Obama, and Trump ripped off the agreement. The agreement was working, and Iran has, under international law, they have the capacity to develop enriched uranium just for energy and medical isotopes. But so Trump ripped off the Iran nuclear deal, and then also in the summer they bombed Iran, like the 12-day war that they said. And Trump himself put in the White House web page, that they have obliterated the nuclear capacities of Iran. So, they said in the summer that they had already dealt with that problem. And
yep.
now they're saying, like, oh, Iran's still going to build nukes. Like, then why are you contradicting yourself? If you said in the summer their nuclear reactors were all obliterated by Trump and Israel, and now they're saying, like, no, they're still gonna build a nuclear weapon. It's bullshit.
One of the unfortunate realities of our situation is that we have to ask a serious question as to whether this strike was made because the current president is in political trouble and other kinds of trouble. And that's a hell of a question to have to ask, but I think we have to take it seriously.
So just to be clear, it looks to me like Iran had the ability, if they had wanted to create a nuclear weapon, but the 2015 agreement was part of what stopped them from doing it, if I'm not mistaken. The US withdrew from that deal in 2018 under Trump, I think, and so, intelligence agencies consistently said Iran hadn't decided to build a bomb. I think they knew that if they built a bomb that they would get destroyed before they would be able to use it. And so they were trying to saber rattle and try to act really threatening and say we could do this if we wanted to, we could do this if we wanted to, and in order to get political leverage. But I don't think they ever really gung ho were trying to build a bomb, because they had many years during which it seems like they had the time that they could have done it if they wanted to, if they were
so
unchecked.
So question then is, if they seemed insistent on creating nuclear materials, but they were going to use it for energy. What is Iran's energy capacity with fossil fuels, renewables, other stuff? Did they really need nuclear materials for their energy stuff?
I don't think
Because
anyone's
my
saying
sources tell me that
no one's saying that they did, Sean. I didn't say that they did either. What I said is that they were
okay.
using the enrichment of uranium in order to make themselves seem threatening, in the same way that a bully who's
Okay.
5'2", tries to make himself seem really strong and like, I'm a tough guy, right? But then, you get a bodybuilder or you get a mixed martial artist that walks up to him like, I'm not going to feel threatened by you, right? And the
Got it.
5'2" guy that doesn't work out knows that he's no threat to the mixed martial artist, which, the mixed martial artist in this case is both Israel and the US. And Iran knew that they were no match for us, but they wanted to look tough. That's my hypothesis.
Same thing Saddam did to us about I have weapons of mass
Exactly.
destruction.
And then when
And whether
Saddam
they need,
realized that he was in
and whether they
trouble,
need,
go ahead.
whether they need, sorry, and
No,
whether
please.
they need to enrich uranium or want to enrich uranium for their personal use of energy, that doesn't matter.
Right.
It
That
kind
wasn't
of
the point.
matters.
What
It
wasn't
kind of
the
matters
point?
if you're saying, why are you developing all the materials for a nuclear weapon in your backyard, and you say, oh, well, I really need it for energy, but then you have one of the most energy self-sufficient countries in the Middle East, then I question if that's really your intention.
No, we know that wasn't their intention, Sean, because they were enriching far higher than was required for nuclear energy. So they were enriching up to
Agreed.
60%. So we know for a fact that that wasn't their reason. I don't
Yeah.
think they could, with a straight face, think that they would get away with saying that. So I don't know that they actually did
Well,
try
they were
to say
trying,
that.
they were, tr
You
as
have
B
sources
says,
where
they
they,
were trying to say that.
I mean,
As B said, B is the one who's saying that they were they were claiming they were using it for energy programs. And that,
I
Yes,
mean,
so
they
they
were
were in,
legitimately using it for energy programs. They just were also enriching it to near weapons grade uranium.
Of all the countries that have nuclear weapons currently, have any of them announced beforehand that they were in the process of developing nuclear weapons before they had them? That's
good
what I'm
question.
throwing it out there as a question because, to my knowledge, every country that has nuclear weapons, with the exception of the United States, didn't announce it until after the fact, and the rest of the
I
world
don't,
didn't know it until
yeah.
they exploded one. So my thinking is that if Iran is not being honest about their nuclear weapons program, well, join the club because no country on earth has been honest about their nuclear program from the get-go.
I
no,
just want,
no, that's not true. That you have to be part of the International Atomic Energy Organization, and Israel is the only. There's 9 countries that have nukes, and Israel is the only one that doesn't have to do energy checks. Even North Korea had to have inspectors from the UN and International Atomic Energy to have checks on them, except for Israel. All of the countries that had nuclear weapons or wanted to develop nuclear weapons had to have inspections, except for Israel.
Oh, okay,
I,
thank you. Okay, I
I
wasn't aware.
just, I would just like to point out that North Korea's nuclear program was for research and energy purposes before they detonated their first nuclear weapon. What Iran says means absolutely nothing, and anybody who believes that should not be running a country. There is excellent intelligence assets that Israel has within Iran. We know this because they just decapitated the whole country. They did the pager thing where they blew up a bunch of terrorists by giving them pagers. So Israel has lots of knowledge in that country that we don't have privy to, and we have the example in North Korea where they claimed it was for research and energy right until the time they set off a nuke. So
We
I don't
know
believe anything Iran says.
we knew that Iran had weapons grade uranium. Like that was
Yep.
public knowledge and it was publicly released that we knew that. So
Yeah,
they knew
and
that we
all
knew.
along they've been saying the opposite.
Yeah,
Well,
but
it's really
they knew
interesting
that we knew.
problem. There's an interesting
Yeah.
problem here with all this uranium that they're supposed to have. I'm glad they haven't tried to use it, or at least I'm assuming they haven't tried to use it to make dirty bombs or dirty missiles. So I
Right.
don't know, maybe they've been doing that and they've been shot down, so I'm glad that hasn't been a problem.
So I guess whether about why this decision was made, there was Iran is going to preemptively strike neighbors and allies. Um, I'm curious, like if anyone feels like that's a good argument. Like,
I
do
think
we think that they were preemptively going to strike neighbors and allies?
I think they would have hit Israel with their very first nuclear weapon.
Yeah,
What
I think
makes you
that's fair
believe
to say.
that?
What makes me believe it? The
Yeah.
fact that they keep on sending barrages of missiles to
Israel
Israel.
has nukes. They have nukes.
So,
Right.
and they don't use them. What's your
But they're
point?
a Western liberal democracy. They haven't used
They're
them.
not
They've
a
expressed,
democracy. They're an apartheid state that's doing a genocide.
well,
That's
we're not a
They're
true.
not a
democracy
democracy.
either, but
Definitely
we
not
do
a
have a democratic
democracy.
We
process.
are a representative democracy and a republic. Israel is an
B
Iran,
apartheid
and
state.
Sherry,
Iran is,
I'm sorry, they are obviously an apartheid state. I mean, that's
I don't
clear.
want to talk about Israel's government. However, I will say Israel generally acts in a responsible manner, and I'm not going to talk about
No, it
Palestine
doesn't.
either. I'm
They
not going to
bomb
talk
every
about
country.
Palestine either,
They
but is
bomb
Israel.
Syria. They
Can
bomb
any of you let
Lebanon.
me finish a single
They
Please,
sentence for
bomb all the
God's
countries
sake?
around them.
Please let him finish.
Jesus
I'm gonna
criminy.
mute you. Go ahead, Paul.
Israel has not preemptively launched barrages of missiles that would randomly impact all over other countries like Iran has. Iran has repeatedly, going back to the 80s, shown
Bullshit.
themselves
Bullshit. Bullshit.
B, please let him finish.
have shown themselves completely irresponsible. They do factually fund terrorism everywhere. Their
Try to finish your
proxies
thoughts.
are killing soldiers, including Americans. Their proxies have killed Americans. So, yeah, I think that's the accurate view here.
Israel has killed Americans, Palestinian Americans in the West Bank. 20 of them they have killed since October 7th.
And
I have
very
a
large
question
numbers of
about
Palestinians as well.
why are we asking what the arguments are that are being given for why it's okay for the U.S. to attack Iran? Because by international law, we have a right to attack them if they're endangering us, but they are not. They have never made a decision. They've never made an action. It's the U.S. that puts itself in the position of being the policeman of the world, which is a false claim, obviously, because clearly we don't even declare war. We don't even go through the process through Congress of declaring war. We just preemptively attack countries. This has been true for a while. And I don't see, therefore, in this interaction, why we're treating Iran as a legitimate target, as this being, what is our argument for why it's okay to attack Iran when by international law, there's no argument for our attacking Iran?
I just made
So they can distract from the Epstein files and keep covering Trump's pedophilia.
And the voting issues.
There may be political reasons to do it, but there's no legal justification for
So
it.
it looks like under international law. Just let me cover this real quick. It looks like under international law, the UN Charter basically says that countries are not allowed to use military force against another country unless it's for self-defense after an armed attack or authorized by the UN Security Council. If neither of those applies, the attack is usually considered illegal.
So imminent threat or actual threat doesn't matter.
Correct.
No one attacked me, so I can't hit them back.
Correct.
That's a sucker punch. It's immoral and illegal.
Iran has killed hundreds of American soldiers over the years, hundreds, and they're all documented.
So
Israel has killed American soldiers too when they attacked the USS Liberty. They killed 134 Americans.
In the 70s, yes, that happened one time.
Our ship. Okay, so they have killed Americans too.
Iran has killed Americans as recently as 2025.
Can I ask a question to B and Sherry? I understand that B and Sherry, hang on. Yeah. I understand that B and Sherry are very anti-Israel, and that's totally fine. I get that. That's fine. That's a whole discussion.
No, Sean, you can't make a claim like that.
If they want it,
you can ask them.
You can ask them, but you can't make a claim like that. It's trying to tell. Hold on, guys. Something we have to do here is respect each other. And telling someone else what their opinions are is not respectful. Just hang on, Sherry. Asking a thoughtful question of Sherry and B, are you anti-Israel? That would be a respectful way of.
I'm making it very clear. Don't call me that. I don't appreciate it. Ask me what I think. Don't tell me what I think.
Got it.
We have a bunch of hands
from what
up,
I've heard, let me reframe it. Sherry and B, from some of the things I've heard you say, that Israel is an apartheid state, that they are committing genocide, that they have killed all these Americans. I get the impression that you are not very in favor of Israel. Is that wrong?
No, I think just hold on a second. I think what she's saying is, and it's true, is that a majority of the people in Israel cannot vote in the elections, right? Because if you are of Muslim faith, you're not allowed to vote.
That's right.
I think that's what she's getting at. Yeah.
So you're for them or you're against them?
What kind of a question is that? I oppose everything they do.
No, hold on, Sherry. That's a reason manipulation is what that is, because you're sticking things between options, like you're for or against.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of nuance to that, right?
Yes.
The reason I'm asking is because we're talking about Iran, an attack on Iran. And then when we say, well, they were going to be attacking Israel, they threatened to kill Israel or nuke them. The response was, well, Israel is an apartheid state. In other words, they deserve it, or they've asked for it.
Not at all.
Then why are you bringing Israel up so much in this conversation that's about Iran?
Because the claim that was made is that this attack on Iran was defensive of a claim
Guys, let's
regarding Iran
calm,
intending to
Sherry.
attack
Let's
Israel.
guys, let's all take it a notch back, take a few deep breaths.
I'm answering the
We want to,
question
I understand you are answering his question, but you're very emotionally intense, and I get that
because I was
because
called
I
anti-Israel, and
understand.
that's a
I know
silly
why
thing
you were
to
emotionally
say.
intense, Sherry, and I probably would be too if the same was said of me. Although I try not to be, but I get it. All I'm saying is I think it's important that we stay calm because we do our most logical thinking when we're calm, cool, and collected. I think though that you know, to get to the center of the question of whether or not this issue was illegal, the typical examples of armed attack are military invasion or occupation, missile or airstrikes, bombardment of territory, attacks on military bases, and blockades of ports and coasts. So killing 20 Americans over 10 years does not count as an armed attack, according to the UN Security Council. And so, without this attack being agreed upon by the UN Security Council or one of these things happening, it is technically, I believe, illegal. Would you
It
agree with
isn't
that,
just
Sean?
technical, it's a moral issue as well.
Well, the whole idea of the UN is to try to create some sense of morality between countries that have completely different sets of morals. So
Exactly.
that is, I agree with you, Sherry. That's the intent. But I'm curious, Sean, if you would agree that by this definition, that it is technically an illegal, by international standards, war.
Yeah, I think you might be right. It's something where we would have to find out if there is more evidence or intelligence that shows that there was an imminent strike coming in that they'll have to justify.
Even if there was an imminent strike coming in, it says that you have to have actually had the attack happen. It doesn't
So does,
actually give an exception for an imminent strike. It says there has to have been an armed attack, not
so
an
does our
imminent armed attack.
so does our
Okay.
Constitution. So does our Constitution. With
Okay.
one interesting exception that it allows two states to be able to attack under imminent danger, Arizona and Texas.
Yeah, good
That's
luck.
weird. I guess that then raises the question then, Garrett, is there ever a case where an illegal action?
Could
Oh,
we
go ahead, Bonnie.
Yeah, I do
Bonnie
want to get
wants
to the
to
hands
speak.
up. Like we've been on this topic for a while.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Evad. Thank you, Bonnie.
Yeah, geez. Look, I think that this idea of a preemptive strike as a reason to go into another country to launch an attack on another country is kind of problematic. It's kind of based on a belief, and that belief may or may not be substantiated. And so I have real issues with this notion of a preemptive strike. Now the reality is America's surrounded by two very large oceans, and it is really most unlikely that it's ever going to be attacked directly. And so if it all came down to self-defense only, then the America would have no reason to get involved at all anywhere. I mean, that's the reality. They have their own ballistic defense system. I'm sure they would get a lot of warning and so on and so forth. I just think that they're more or less impregnable, and yet they've been involved in so many conflicts over the years since World War II. It's just kind of bizarre. But the issue of treaties gets involved. I mean, if America were to sign a treaty with Israel, for example, that look, if Israel is attacked, then they'll rush into the defense of Israel. I mean, the idea of treaties has been around for a long, long time. It's dragged a lot of countries in. Sorry, it's dragged a lot of countries into conflict over certainly First and Second World Wars, examples that come to mind. So treaties are something to consider. Are they legal? I mean, should you be able to do that? I mean, the other thing is that accounts of history and accounts of events, even current events, are just highly dubious. I mean, what do you believe? I mean, I grew up believing that Hitler was the was the initial aggressor when it came to England in the Second World War, and that England went to war as a matter of self-defense. But that now comes under question. It looks as though Churchill made the decision. I mean, regardless that in Germany had no intention to actually attack England, and I understand that England bombed Germany before Germany bombed England, and so on and so forth. So, at the end of the day, we've just got accounts of history, and we don't just have a direct hotline to the truth of events, whether they're happening now or whether they happened years ago. As far as press releases are concerned, we had a legendary politician in Queensland, Australia, once say that when he goes to press galleries to make remarks, it feels like feeding the chooks on the farm. I mean, that's the level of respect that he had for the press, and he was basically, admitting that he just fed them bullshit. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw my little bit in there. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Bud. Anyone have comments on that?
Well said.
Well, I'll jump in. I mean, my father was in World War II, and my grandfather. And if you think that Germany wasn't going to attack England, you're living in another planet. Evad, Dave, or whatever your name is, and you just seem like a sort of one of these sympathizers. You always take this sort of tack. Very predictable.
Well, let's not make generalized comments about people. Let's comment on their,
all right. See you later.
opinions.
You asked for a comment.
I did ask for a comment, but I'm expecting truth-seeking and polite from you, Will.
All right. See you.
That's where you normally are. So let's stick with that.
Kangaroo fight. I got a kangaroo fight outside. I've got to go. See you later, guys.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
take care.
A kangaroo fight. Wow.
Yeah, he said there was kangaroo drama in the chat. So, yeah, I guess I do think you have a lot of good points, Evad, in that the U.S. violates international law on a regular basis, and that kind of gets me to the question of like, should we be doing that, right? But let's get to the hands up. I'll raise my hand as well, and let's go to Bonnie next.
Okay, so first question is there a point in having our hands up? Because it doesn't seem to work very well. People are waiting.
Tonight's a little different.
Yeah, so we're kind of running things a little differently, and we were talking about we were kind of on a stream of conversation that was going further and further. So if you had something to say about the prior topics, you always are welcome to jump in, Bonnie. You don't have to wait for your hand to be raised to jump in. When you want to start a new topic, that was kind of, I really felt like a very good conversation, and I felt like we were making progress towards finding common ground. And I think that's part of what our goal is here, is to try to find common ground. And if we keep moving around too quickly to do that, we won't be able to do it. So that said, I do want to get to hands, but
yeah.
Go ahead.
So here's my short question. What is the information on the timing of the release of the latest Epstein files of Trump's involvement and this strike that he made on Iran? Does anybody have any updated information on that?
What do you mean by that?
Are you implying? Is it true? Is it fair to say that you're implying that maybe we attacked Iran to distract from the Epstein files?
I'm just open to thinking that is a possibility, because that information just came out. I think it was Thursday or Friday.
I'm curious, Sean and Paul, as our friendly Trump supporters here, do you think that's a crazy idea, or is that a possibility?
Number one, I'm not a Trump supporter, and number two, the military buildup has been going on for weeks and weeks now. So this was the timing of the Epstein files, unless it's just generally for months at a time, trying to deflect press coverage from the Epstein files. I don't think you can make that case.
The Epstein files has been happening for more than those months, quite frankly.
I know, but the military buildup's not front page news. The actual attack is.
There was some latest information. I believe it was Friday. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was Thursday. About that they had some kind of evidence of him being with an underage girl, and there was some story that went with it, and I haven't really heard any more.
They
So
attacked the day the second carrier showed up. The second carrier was steaming at full bore towards the Middle East, toward, in the Mediterranean. And the second it showed up, that's when they attacked. So I don't
Let me
think
give
this
some
has
good
anything to do with the files.
let me give some good faith to you, Bonnie. If it does come out that the latest Epstein release does have some type of like smoking gun type of thing towards Trump, then I would say that there could be something there. But I think what Paul's saying is, you can't do these attacks overnight. It takes a long time for ships to get in position, do all of these type of things, and to get Israel on board to do all of their part of the strikes as well. And if you're going for a distraction, this is a pretty big bear to poke. You might be better to do some other distraction that isn't like, starting a war with a potential nuclear power in the Middle East.
John, I don't think it would
But
take
I could
long
be
to
wrong.
get
I could
Israel
be
on
wrong.
board. That I can test. I think getting
Also,
Israel on board would be easy. Sorry, go
Well,
ahead.
there was
also
a data that came
Netanyahu.
out last week that
Hey,
there was
Garrett,
the young lady that accused Trump of raping her, the 12-year-old, and 4 depositions were done with the FBI,
Sorry
and
about that.
50 of those pages are missing. That happened
Yes,
just last week.
Katie Johnson. Katie
Right.
Johnson was a 13-year-old girl, and the FBI did like multiple interviews with her because she's a credible witness of like what happened, and they removed those from the Epstein files. And also, Trump in 2015 was saying like, "Oh, Obama's polls are down, and he's gonna bomb Iran." There's like all these tweets from 2015 saying like
yeah.
Obama's going to bomb Iran because
Yep.
his poll numbers are down. So with
Yep.
Trump, every accusation is a confession. His poll
Yep.
numbers are in the 30s, and he wants to do a war so that people rally around the flag, and he has better poll numbers because he's a narcissist.
And Netanyahu has been for months trying to convince him to do this.
Hey,
For
Garrett,
many
can I ask
It
John?
could be
Yeah, can we let Dan
possible.
speak?
It could be possible, and I think there's
John,
precedent that I think.
John, can we?
I think.
John, can we
Yeah.
give Dan a chance to
Oh,
respond?
of course. Yeah, sure.
Super quick question for Sean. Hey, Sean, how you doing? I've been wanting to speak to you for a while. I like a lot of your stuff. I got to ask you a quick question, guy. If there was credible evidence that Trump did something wrong with underage girls, do you think that the powers that be in the United States government would release it? And I don't want to say yes or no. Talk around it a bit and give me your answer, please.
Sure. I mean, if there was credible evidence that Trump did something with underage girls, I think the last administration absolutely would have released something. They had everything there, and they could have even leaked it out, right? Even if it was like, hey, we're not supposed to or whatever. They had every reason to keep him out of power. They didn't. Now, is it possible that there is still something there? It could be. The fact that Ro Khanna and what was it, Massey, they were able to get everything out despite Trump not wanting things to be released for whatever reason. We can get into that later. I think it's totally possible that if there is a smoking gun, if there is damning evidence, it could come out even under this administration.
No, the reason why they didn't release the files is because the Democrats were also involved, like Bill Clinton, and also Israel is involved because Ehud Barak and other people in the Israeli government are involved in the Epstein files, and Trump doesn't want that to come out, and they want to do a distraction to prevent this from happening as well. They also want to just take over Iran.
In that case, then there's no administration in which the Epstein files are ever going to come out if neither side will admit to it because there's damning evidence on either side. So I don't know what you do there.
Yeah, there's damning evidence on both sides. And Pam Bondi said they're not going to release any more files. So there's still like 3 million files that they haven't released. So they're hiding this shit because all these powerful people are implicated. It's not just Trump. Trump is in the Epstein files 1 million times in the unredacted files, and there's all these Democrats too that are implicated as well. So they don't want that to come out, and Israel is implicated in there as well because Epstein, it's alleged that he was working with Mossad, and Ehud Barak was also involved in this, he was the prime minister of Israel.
Well, there's a law now, so if the courts want to order them to be released, they will be.
Yeah.
Was that law there under Biden? Did he
No,
really
it
have?
wasn't. It was passed by
No.
the Congress under Trump, and Trump signed it, I guess.
Yeah,
That's,
but they have not released the files. They have
Right.
not
Not all
released
of
all
them.
of them. They're breaking the law every day because they have
Okay, if
not
that's
released them.
true,
They
if
were
that's
supposed to
true,
release it in December 18, and they have not released them.
if
Oh,
that's true, that'll be handled by the courts, and there'll be a court order that they release them. If it's not adhering to the law, that's how these things work.
So
And
let's go.
I think since
Let's,
then they have been releasing millions of them. They're not all released yet, and to your point, and I hope they do release them all. And I hope
but even though they're releasing them, there's a lot of redactions, including redactions of the perpetrators.
I agree, and I don't agree with that.
Yeah,
So
I don't see any reason to redact the perpetrators. Like,
no, I say screw them all. If they, I don't care whose side they're on.
or
If you're
how powerful they
victimizing
are.
people,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
And there's at least 3 million that they're acknowledging. There could be more. And there's certainly more since they've only now started to look at several homes and storage facilities that Epstein have that they hadn't looked at before.
yeah. And the nuance I'll add to this is I'm sure not every name that's named in the Epstein files is going to be necessarily a pedophile or someone involved in
Of
some
course.
type of sex ring.
Right.
You know,
Right.
Epstein's plumber does not need to get dragged through the mud over this, or some guy he had lunch with him. So
Right.
I think it does
See, the
matter.
redacting someone that's not a perpetrator, I agree with you, but the perpetrators, and quite frankly, if it was an inane thing, like no one would care if their name was there. The plumber, like no one's gonna follow up
Right.
with the plumber, like right, like, and I asked
Sure.
Plumber Joe to do my toilet again,
Right.
and like no one's gonna reach out to Plumber Joe, right? So
Well, I don't
wait,
know.
wait.
$500 for the plumbing job or a nice, good-looking Russian baby. I don't know.
Garrett, if you're going to go down the
Not a young
Epstein
one. Not a
yeah,
young one.
let's not.
if you're going to go down the
I'm
rabbit hole
teasing.
of ulterior motives with Epstein, you might as well go down the rabbit hole of ulterior motives with Iran being a major oil producer. Now we have Venezuela under our thumb, so
Yep.
it's U.S. control of oil. So let's not forget that. And also, there's a weak argument that maybe there'll be some internal civil revolution now that the Ayatollah's taken out and there'll be a regime change. I don't know. It sounds weak to me, but yeah, I mean, if you're going to go down Epstein rabbit hole, there's several other ulterior motives.
Let's
And the
let
voting
Barbara,
issues.
guys. Can we let Barbara speak? She wanted to say something.
Yes, please, Garrett. I do not want to hear from the same people over and over again. You have dozens of hands up. I would
Yeah,
like to hear from somebody else, please.
sounds like a good point, Barbara. Alan, go ahead.
Yeah. I don't watch the news. I don't watch the news, and I don't watch the news. I don't watch any of it. I go into my YouTube feed and I say, "Don't show me that. I don't want to see that channel." And when I hear you guys talking here, for someone who doesn't watch this stuff, you know how fucked up it is? Do you realize how fucked up you people here? It's crazy, man. You guys are like watching sports teams and making calls. It's like a game. And I mean, we don't know. We have no idea. What I'm hearing is people projecting, people rationalizing behaviors that they know nothing about what's going on in the people's heads. And what if Ed said? I mean, it's right. I mean, we watch what we're watching right now on the news is what they want to spoon feed us. If that's what you're watching, that's it. You're not getting nearly what's really going on. And I mean, I know we want to know. I mean, look, you're talking about 3 million files. I did see there were 50 terabytes of information that the FBI got from Epstein. 50 terabytes. You know how much that is? That's videos of everything. He had everything video recorded. Yeah. So if you think a few emails is what it is and they're redacted, there's stuff in there that's totally salacious. Anyway, I'm sorry, Garrett.
It's okay, Alan, but I would ask you if you don't, and look, I don't watch the news regularly either, but when big events like this come up, I find a way to get informed, although I didn't get informed by this one before tonight's event. So now I'm getting more informed here because that's part of what we're
Yep.
supposed to do is seek truth together. But if you don't get informed about the events that are relevant to politics, how do you decide who to vote for?
You want to know? You know what I do in
Yeah,
Canada? I vote for the Green Party because that's the future. All decisions should be made around the environment. That's it. That's it.
I think it's helpful to
I
know
don't.
what they stand
I
for. I
don't have to
mean,
make. I don't have to make any decisions based on my own personal interest.
mhm.
I know it's simplified, isn't it? And you know who
I would
taught me that?
encourage
You
a
know
little
who's?
scrutiny because a local Green Party member may be like you know like
I know.
disingenuous or disreputable. Might be in
I,
the Epstein files. So,
yeah. Not in Canada.
oh
Which help?
yeah, Prince so and so apparently was in the Epstein files. So,
Yeah, I
um,
know.
Your
you
heart
know,
is in the right place, though, Alan.
Yeah. I mean, it's.
I agree with Ginny, but I would say I think
Yeah.
it's good to know what's
I
going
mean,
on
but
about the important
it's
topics.
it's. I think the thing is that I when I've watched some of these things, I really don't know how to parse it anymore.
Right. Well, I
Like
agree with you.
I'm gonna bring my projection onto it and bring my beliefs into it, and I can't help but think that that influences no matter what I watch now. Like because trying to dig the facts out of it is really hard. Like really,
Well,
Yeah,
you
like
know, I listen to NPR and I sort of use that as a source, and I don't know if anybody in here listen to
they're great.
NPR.
They're
Huh?
great.
I think it's a pretty good source, in my opinion.
They're very objective, but they're middle of the road. And what they do is they omit things that will make them seem left leaning or right leaning. And so, they're a good source in general for consistent stuff, but I really think you need to look at left, right, and centrist news
Yes.
about a topic to really understand what's going on.
Yes. Yes.
Ground
Yes.
news.
Yeah.
Ground news is it tells you like where it comes from.
it's
Also, like watching the news from like the BBC and other countries, they have a North America and US section, and they're a little bit more objective because
Yeah.
they're not in the US, so that kind of helps me figure out what's going on.
Al
Ground news
Jazeera
is
does
good.
likewise.
Ground news is good, but I'm trying to come up with something better. So give me time.
okay. I hope I didn't make enemies of everybody here tonight. So.
No.
No. No.
Can I just say that, I mean, I understand like it's hard to tease out the facts, but like for me, and people say like I don't watch anything. I think it's good if you want to protect your mental health, but at the same time, it's like why do you want to be uninformed about everything? I don't know.
Right.
I would be more anxious not to know what's going on.
I think it's
And
important.
You,
also,
Go
you know,
ahead.
like, how are you gonna solve problems if you don't
Yes.
know anything?
you know,
There's no way to solve all the problems.
Or
I'll
make
tell you.
big claims.
Can I tell you a
Can't do it.
quick story about me? I lived overseas for 10 years in Saudi Arabia and in Asia, and I didn't get any TV, and I didn't get the news, and right, and then when I came back and I started watching the news again, you know what shocked me about it? It was all the same stuff that I'd been watching 10 years before, just different faces, different names, but a lot of it was the same. I think now, now it gets more and more extreme, but I feel like the news is a reality show. But yeah, so going away and coming back, I didn't feel I was that uninformed in the end, right? And I was in Saudi Arabia for 5 years. Anyway, go ahead, guys.
I
All right.
agree with you, Alan, that looking at the news is not a good source of reliable information, and that narratives get repeated over and over for different conflicts, but they get recycled, etc. They were an imminent threat. Our intelligence agency claims they were an imminent threat, therefore it was okay for us to commit wars of aggression against them and ignore international law. But this is a really common narrative, and it makes me kind of confused too, and kind of frustrated when people act as if this is a brand new and unique method of dealing with U.S. attacks on other countries. Oh, we had reason to believe that they were going to do something bad, therefore we obliterated them.
Right. And that is the excuse that's generally given, but now we know under international law that's not technically legal. And should we
Yeah.
as Americans be okay with that? I don't think we should. I think we should be supporting international law, which basically says defensiveness is the right answer is to defend yourself. And if someone attacks you, then like aggression is okay.
And I
International law
want
is
International
not
laws doesn't exist
constitutional.
because it doesn't have any enforcement. You can't have a law without enforcement, and there is
Yeah.
nobody to enforce international law. The only country that ever tried to enforce international law is United States. And we didn't attack them because we felt like it. We attacked them because when they came to negotiations, the first phrase out of their mouths is, we have so much nuclear material, so we can create so many bombs and we can do this. And if you start negotiation with that statement, guess what's the next thing coming? And so we didn't have any choice. We had to preempt the attack.
Well, I
You
would
know,
agree. I would disagree. I think we did have a choice. That's how Trump chose to deal with that, if that is what really happened. Although, you might want to post a source for that. But that said, I'd love to get to Trin, who's had their hand up for quite a while.
I was one of the things I do
Did
like
you want to
watching when it
wait
comes to
until they
news.
threw the first bomb at you?
Let Trent
Alan
talk.
was speaking. Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead, Alan.
I was going to say, one of the things I do watch when it comes to news is a news show, but all of the news that they cover is years old. It's Frontline from PBS. Right. They do documentaries, but like 4 or 5 years after the event, and they cover it in depth, and you get all this additional information. I'd recommend going and looking at some of the stuff. It's fascinating, right? What gets dug up years afterwards, and compared to and then they present what was in the news at the time, and then compare it to what is going on, what they know now,
That
and
sounds
it's
pretty
shocking.
cool.
It's shocking, right? It's shocking when you think what gets hidden from us, right?
Yeah.
Hey, bringing it back to Iran for a little bit. I posted this in the chat, but I think there's a case to be made that the attack on Iran is part of the long game against trying to keep China out of invading Taiwan in a larger World War III type of situation. Iran was one of the largest partners with them with their BRICS program, their Belt and Road Initiative, and I think they were a major supplier of oil over to China as well. So they were kind of essential.
Their
And
largest supplier
of oil. And I think Paul was mentioning in the chat as well that Iran was also supplying Russia with their suicide drones that they're using in the
Tens
Ukraine
of
war.
thousands. The numbers are huge.
So I think might be kind of a proxy war type of thing, Garrett, that they're making excuses for other things to some degree. But I wonder how that hits other people. The thought of that this is more about China than
That's a
simply
new
that.
topic, so I'm actually not going to let people respond to it right now. I want to go
Okay,
to Trin.
sure.
You have to raise your hand too, Sean. Trin, go ahead. Trin might be away, so B, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. That is kind of what I wanted to ask. First off, I don't engage in popular media. I take a neutral stance. I don't really take a side on anything. I listen to people and get information from sources that look at the past and compare it to things that are going on in the present. And like was stated before, there does seem to be some maybe strategic effort to gain resources. And that's, I don't know, you said that might be a different topic, but that would be interesting to explore, because in the past, a lot of these, whether it be just using it as a Trojan horse, and not directly the cause or the reason, it's something that I would like to explore, is having a strategic position for resources. And then, yeah, and then there's, would like more information on this because I only heard it by word of mouth, was the restriction of use with Starlink satellites over certain areas. And that might be a different topic too, but that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Well, what was the first point? Now I got focused on Starlink. Try to keep, I forgot to say, state of one point or one comment or question per time you raise your hand, and then we'll go through things quicker.
Okay,
What was the first point?
The first point was basically what was stated with having a position over resources, like oil was stated, and then
So you're saying,
yeah.
did we go into Iran to get the oil from them?
Did we go in there for the oil, either as a main cause or a side cause? You know, like, is it a factor, basically?
Okay. Anyone want to comment on that?
Well, the US has a history of going into countries for economic gain to serve their multinationals. I mean, it's a well-established and steep history of behavior. So, yeah.
I would agree with that. Other than I think when we went into Iraq, they made a point of saying that we're not allowed to make money off the oil, and there were great lengths brought to say you guys don't seem to have any. You guys seem like you're going after the oil, and so the U.S. basically said we won't make money off the oil. We promise. I don't know if that promise was kept, but I remember that being the dialogue at the time. But I agree with you in general. The U.S. does what's in our best interest. Our government does what they feel like is in the best interest of the population and kind of screw the rest of the world, unfortunately, which some of us don't agree with, but some people do agree with. I think M would say that's exactly what we should be doing.
Yes, the United States applies international law against people like Russia, Iran, China, like their enemies. But the United States preemptively attacks countries. They attacked Iran in 1953. They topple their democratically elected government, Mohammad Mossadegh. He he tried to nationalize the petroleum for its people, and the United States and the UK, they toppled him and installed the Shah, which led to the Iranian Revolution in 1979. And this is why we're in the place that we're in. The United States supports 73% of the world's dictatorships because we always do what is in our best interest. Might makes right. When other countries break the law, like Russia, China, Iran, other countries, then yeah, we apply international law. When the United States and Israel break the law, oh, geez, we're just defending ourselves. This is a common and clear pattern.
Agreed 100%.
Yes.
And I don't think we as Americans should be complacent to that. We should acknowledge it, know that it's happening, and be voting in power people who won't continue that narrative, continue down that line of reasoning.
And I might have missaid something earlier when I was talking about Iran and China oil. Most of China's oil comes from Russia and Saudi Arabia. Iran is around 12-15% of what China gets. But I said it backwards. I was 90% or so of Iran's oil
Goes to China.
goes to China.
Yeah.
So I
That's
didn't
what
mean
I
to
thought
say
you
that
meant.
they were the largest supplier. I might have missaid it.
Yeah, you might have, but I knew what you meant because I
Yeah.
know the data. So,
Okay.
yeah, but glad you clarified. Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean,
Any-
even if the United States is not gonna, if they have some kind of agreement with Iran to not sell the oil, it could be just
Oh,
positioned.
that's not the case this time, Trin.
Oh,
We're gonna steal all the oil guaranteed under Trump. Trump already said we get all the Venezuelan oil, so
okay.
like we're like under Trump, there's no question that we're gonna take all the oil we can get.
Yeah. All right. Yep.
So yeah, sorry. That was under Iraq back when there
Okay.
were gloves on the boxers. No gloves on anymore.
Yep.
Ozan, go ahead.
Good evening, folks. I like the way everybody's giving different thoughts. Especially, I thought it was about pro-Trump and the immigration and different things, but
We changed the topic to Iran because of the attack.
oh, okay, makes sense. So I think when people look at these, there is a confusion created by the cultures itself, right? Culture is like a I feel like it's like these machines that going around the field and they just get all together all the crops. So it's just the time. When it's the time, if the time comes, you might think you're in a good position, you're in a best place politically, in a country wise, and safe military wise. But things change the changes turn, and you cannot stop it because when the turn comes. And I want to point this. Yeah, it's a wild world, and when you think about it has to be ethical. Do I believe that? I don't believe the fight is an ethical thing. So if it is not an ethical thing, you cannot keep it ethical, especially if the both parties are trying to fight. So I don't know. The both parties trying to seek for their best interests, and it's tough for the watching it. I think that's my point. It's very tough to watch it, but that's the truth. Sometimes truth is just tough. Thank you.
Anyone have comments on that?
I'm not sure what he meant by it's tough watching both parties fight. Do you mean that making everything, seeing everything through the lens of partisan perspective is not an enlightening point of view for you?
Can you come again?
What do you mean when you say it's tough seeing both parties fight? I mean, what are we referring to specifically?
No, when people fight, it's tough to watch. And if it is a war, it's tough to watch. People are getting killed, but that's always both parties in the war, right? In this specific war, they are looking for their best interest, and they try to, try to keep it, strong, dominant in their own areas. That's what I say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a concern about discussing war in general, and I want to say how much I appreciate somebody who said something I haven't really thought about before, which was that we shouldn't refer to this or that administration triggering a war with another country. We refer to the U.S., to America making war in another country. And I want to say that there's something very exciting to me about something that's happening on a social level now, which is that because people naturally distrust Trump, it supports their being anti-war. I'm more than anything else in my involvement in politics, I'm anti-war. I'm pro-humanity, anti-war. And so I very much appreciate that the general feeling about Trump is causing people to object to this war. I would like to see that play out whoever is in the government at the time, that we would all be anti-war. And I found I figured I'd do some fact checking like Garrett, which I don't like to do because I don't think of AI as anything but a source of a general narrative. But I did decide to look up something of the idea about who is the source, or what is the source of
Jerry, try to finish your thought.
capacity.
I thought you were responding to Ozan's question. It wasn't your turn,
Yes.
it was Paul's turn.
I'm
But
talking about the idea of fighting in terms of it looking like something that we don't want to see if we're anti-war. And I really appreciate what AI said about the source of wars. I mean, who we look to as the source or the causer of bellicosity, war mongering on the part of the U.S. government. And AI said, I asked it about anti-war perspective on U.S. politics as far as parties go. And I was so shocked. The AI says Despite entering office with an anti-war platform focused on ending the war in Iraq and shifting focus to Afghanistan, President Barack Obama oversaw a significant expansion of the quote war on terror, utilizing covert actions, drone strikes, and new interventions in multiple countries, while he withdrew the majority of combat troops from Iraq in 2011. Last few words, his administration expanded the conflict to include drone wars in Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia, and later initiated new long-term engagements in Libya, Syria, and Iraq. It's from The Guardian that AI took that, and it's saying basically that when we try to say that if we want to oppose wars of aggression by the U.S., we can't focus on one party. We have to look at both parties. And
Sherry,
I think that that's
Sherry,
helpful.
those were very smaller, much smaller military actions than the war in Iraq, and actually some of them were the result of the war in Iraq because we had to fight against ISIS, which filled the power vacuum in Iraq and was threatening to overtopple the democratically elected government we helped create in Iraq. So you have to put these things in context, and I also think you have to understand who's at fault for the situation in the first place, who created that initial situation. And I do think it's important to judge which person makes the decision, because if you don't judge who's actually responsible for the decision, you're not holding the right people accountable. You're not holding anyone accountable. And that becomes problematic in the same way that you're saying, oh, well, I think it's good to just say America did this. That's basically to say that right now, as an American, Sherry, if an international person comes up to you and spits in your face and says you're a warmonger because they blame you as an American for causing the war, you could say, well, I don't support the war, but guess what? You're being judged as an American by that person rather than by a person who disagrees with what the people who made the decision.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't see myself as a person as equivalent to a country with nuclear weapons, but I will say, though, that it's important to look at the people who support war. And in Congress at the time, Joe Biden was one of the biggest supporters of the Iraq war. In fact, he said that it was the first time he saw Bush acting presidential when he declared war, when he started a military action. So, yes, it is important to look at the powerful people who make the decisions that put us into wars. And unfortunately, the warmongering in the United States is a bipartisan effort. There's no question about that. Maybe there is a question in many people's minds because they think of themselves as peaceniks and the other guys as a source of war. But unfortunately, if you're an adherent or a supporter of either party, you are supporting their support for aggressive international actions. That's why
I'm
I
going to
don't
put a
support either
prompt in,
party.
Sherry, that will try to put things in quantitative scale for you about which party has spent more money on military conflict. Because I think that I agree with what you're saying, and I agree that both parties support use of violence, and I don't think that they should. And I think that we shouldn't be violating international law ever. But I think that you're basically like looking at an ant and looking at a human being and saying these two are equally responsible for moving my dirt, and they're moving dirt and putting it into your swimming pool, and well, yeah, the ant moved dirt into your swimming pool, but it was minute compared to what the person did, with a truckload of, with a backhoe, like, so I think there's a difference in quantity in terms of, who is causing more financial impact of wars between the two parties. So I'll try to get you that prompt.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
if
Dean.
you, yeah, I don't, this use of statistics and et cetera, I think is misplaced. It sounds great to have statistics to back up your point of view, but I've been 100% Democrat all the time, but it was under Bush that the Cold War ended. We got the peace dividend, and what's his name? Clinton was the beneficiary of this. So you can look at all the numbers you want. It doesn't tell the whole story. And I also looked up how many incursions there were under various presidents since World War One, and uh, the Democrats actually come out ahead. But I don't. Again, that doesn't mean anything. It's the real circumstance. You have to look at each circumstance by itself. And I thought we're arguing about this one circumstance.
That is the intent. but
Yeah.
people
So
are digressing.
let's keep all that you know, Vietnam, blah blah blah. Let's keep it out of the discussion for now because I don't think it's going to get us very far. Cold War, it was Nixon that ended the Cold War with China, blah blah blah. Okay.
Go ahead, Paul.
All right. So I think it has been a presumption of all the discussion since we started that when the United States attacked Iran, it was a violation of international law. In other words, the United Nations rules regarding when it is legal to declare war. I didn't really have an opinion coming into this. First of all, I didn't know everything that was written or everything that was passed by the UN to make this war illegal. But while I've been sitting here, I've been researching it, and I absolutely say it is not a violation of international law. As a matter of fact, it complies with it.
Can
It
you cite your
complies
source
with
No,
for
it
it
that?
doesn't.
completely. So let me go on. I read the charter myself, and I read the charter through the SEPA.org document, which I provided, which says it very likely was a legal operation. And the UN Charter says the inherent right of individual, that's important because it's one nation or all, or collective self defense if an armed attack occurs against a member of the United Nations, then it's justified, then war is justified. So, very clearly, it
No.
was legal. Well, okay, that's fine. You can present a counter argument to this, but I find this SEPA document to be extremely compelling, and there is no vote by the Security Council that this is a violation of international law, nor is there any vote by the UN that this was. So I guess it's simply an opinion. So I don't accept at all that this is a violation of international law, and I think I've proven it to myself, and I'll be happy to prove it to you. All you need
Yeah,
to
can
do
you
is
put
look at
that link in
Article
again?
I'll put it in again. All you need to do is look at Article 51, crystal clear, black and white. Any attack against any member nation shall shall allow either singular or everybody all at once to go to war against that nation.
If you're
You
talking
might
about,
argue that killing four
That's
Americans doesn't
NATO. That's
qualify.
NATO.
hold on,
That's
No,
not
it's
the
not
No,
NATO.
UN.
And
If
only
you're
isn't there a
talking
hold
about the
time
on,
limit
guys,
on
UN,
it?
guys, guys,
then
It's the
NATO.
guys,
United
please,
Garrett,
hold
Nations
on,
Charter.
guys,
It's
this is
not
what we listen,
NATO.
can interrupt.
please let Paul finish.
It's Article 51 of the United Nations Charter. It is not NATO. You can look
Yes,
at
And
look.
we,
I linked it. I
I
linked
looked
it.
at
Take a
Article
look.
51, Paul, and it basically, and I asked it to define what's meant by an armed attack under international law, and I went through that with the screen share, and I don't think you were paying attention because it basically said that it means a military invasion or occupation, missile or airstrikes, bombardment of territory, attacks on military forces, and blockades of ports or coasts. Iran knew this, so they never used their own military to do any of those things. They fought through proxies. So they
I
never did
saw
any of those things in order to prevent international law from allowing them to be attacked.
I saw your artificial intelligence summary. I saw no documents from the UN stating that. In fact, at the end of this article,
That's
it says the UN Security Council, all the way back in 1954, explicitly declared there would be no expansion of this rule because of the situation in the world. Now, I've looked at several official documents, including UN documents, and I found nothing that expands that rule to include only certain acts. If you have it, you can link it. I
it's
don't
not
trust ChatGPT, and I've said why
it's
before.
not an expansion of the rule. What you need to do is spend some time reading over the international court decisions on what constitutes a legal like a legal definition of an armed attack by the United Nations. Spend a little bit more time on that and then come back to us, okay?
Do you have
Because
a
that's where
link
you
for
need to
me?
look.
Do you
What's
have a
that?
link for me? Do you have a link for me?
No, I don't have a link for you.
Okay, because my
I'm telling you exactly what to look for. You look at international court decisions on what constitutes an armed attack.
all right.
That's
Well,
what
One
one
AI
last
summarized
question.
for me.
one last thing, and I will go ahead and let everybody
Please
else
don't talk
talk.
over me either, Paul. I let other people finish. You need to let me finish too. I was
I
in the
thought you
middle
were
of
finished. Go
talking.
ahead.
I was not finished. So all I'm saying is I let ChatGPT summarize and distill those international court decisions. So if you want to go to the actual decisions and try to say that ChatGPT didn't summarize them correctly, go for it.
What do you think about the analysis that I just posted?
You didn't post analysis. You recovered the territory that I already covered earlier tonight. You just
I
decided
posted
to
a
come up with
SEPA analysis. I did. It's sitting right there.
I have a question for everybody on this same thing. Is there a time limit about when we get attacked? Because if
I
we don't
also
have
have
a
a
time
question
limit,
for Garrett about. Oh,
may I
sorry.
finish? May I finish? If we don't have a time limit about when Iran last attacked us or when we last attacked somebody else, then everybody gets the right to attack everybody else. Because everybody's attacked somebody sometime in the last 10,000 years.
That's a good
The
point. There should be
Vikings
a statute
attacked
of
us.
limitations.
The Vikings attacked us a long time ago, and so we get to take Greenland. Trump said so.
Yeah.
There you go.
Look, I just
Garrett,
justified
do you
Trump's
only
takeover of
allow people
Greenland.
who?
Sorry, go
Garrett, do
ahead.
you only allow people you disagree with to be interrupted?
Did I not just stop people from interrupting Paul like 30 seconds ago, Em? Why don't you pay attention? Come on. Like stop
I
trying
am
to
paying
argue that I'm
attention.
not
He
being a
was
good
interrupted.
moderator and actually try to jump in when and help out
I
in
was already
moderating
talking,
instead of
Em, when you started
criticizing.
talking.
What's that, Steve?
I tried.
I was already talking when Em started to talk over me. She was gracious to slow down, but I was actually already talking.
Sorry about that, Steve. Go ahead.
No, I'm fine.
I missed it. I was looking at this SIPA article and looking at the media bias fact check of it.
Could I just point out, oh, sorry, could I just point out that what we're looking at, we have to find a definition, if you can, of illegal war of aggression. What is constituted in international law to be a war of aggression? Because that's what we're not allowed to do by international law, and that makes sense. No one should commit a war of aggression. It should be a justified war, not a war of aggression. So what is a war of aggression?
I'll tell you what a war of aggression is. The ICJ, their requirement is sufficient scale and effects, and I did exactly what Garrett suggested. But the language that any member of the UN attacked is sufficient. That means it doesn't have to be the United States. The fact that Israel had hundreds of people die under mass barrages of missiles and drones would qualify the United States to go to war against Iran, even under sufficient scale and effect. So that it's still not a violation of international law.
I still don't know what a definition is. If you could read it to me, a definition of a war of aggression.
It actually says at the bottom of the article you posted, Paul, the United States, Israel, and Iran have each violated international law. The United Kingdom appears poised to join them.
And so is Russia, and so is everybody, so is China. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're arguing specifically if in attacking Iran, the United States violated international law. That has been a premise that everybody has just accepted at face value. And I see no evidence whatsoever that the United States, in defending Israel, which is a member of the United Nations and was heavily attacked on numerous times, I see no evidence the United States broke international law at all.
You have no concern about the fact that Israel had been aggressing against countries all around it, and it has nukes, which Iran does not have.
Sherry, isn't that kind of whataboutism? Like you're ignoring what the point Paul's
The
making.
whole idea about whataboutism is kind of an interesting perspective, but what I'm saying is that if you look at who is a threat or when it's okay to attack a country, then I would say that unfortunately the argument could be made for nearby countries bordering Israel to attack it after it has attacked them. And the U.S. does everything it can to allow Israel to commit aggressions and defends it, even though it's aggressive against other countries. So that's not the way we can determine what is wrong in terms of our relationship with Iran. By international law, we are committing acts that we choose who the enemy is. We don't decide, we never accept Israel's aggression as being cause for us to attack it. Obviously not.
Right.
You know,
which country Israel ever attacked? Which country Israel has ever attacked?
So one more point. Strictly speaking, Hamas was being funded and supplied arms by Iran. And when October 7th happened, it can also be said to have traced back to an Iranian attack. And that's what started the current bout of war between the Palestinians in Gaza.
If proxy wars were violations of international, I'm sorry, were you finished?
Yeah, go ahead.
Down. Go ahead.
No, I think you're right, Garrett, to point to the proxy wars, because the Quds Force, that's how they did things, is through proxies.
All through proxies, intentionally, so that they wouldn't be violating international law.
Right, but you can't argue they weren't behind it or funding it or supplying people.
Sherry, which country Israel has ever attacked in an existence of Israel?
Gaza.
It
Gaza
doesn't
is
just
not a
attack.
country.
Gaza
Lebanon,
is a country according
Jordan,
to a lot of people,
Egypt,
Em.
The
That's
creation of Israel
Syria,
was an
that's
attack.
not.
the
Not a
United
country. Which
States.
country? Sherry, which country? Which
You
neighboring
don't agree
country?
Gaza is a
Israel has
country, but a lot of people do.
No, it's
But
recognized as a country by a
by
large part
definition
of
of
the
United
world.
Nations, Gaza is not a
It's a
country.
sovereign
If you're going
territory
to
either
appeal
way,
to the
so they
United
did attack
Nations,
it.
it's not a
Palestine is a
country.
real place.
Israel has attacked Lebanon,
It's not a
Syria,
country.
Excuse me.
If
Jordan,
you know, it's interesting when it's
Egypt.
convenient for you, you appeal to the United Nations resolutions. When it's not convenient, then you do whatever you want, and
No,
United
the United
sorry.
Nations,
Nations,
whatever
the
they
United
Some
Nations
things are facts.
resolutions
They're
would
not
agree that
convenient.
Israel is under violation of international law because of the outposts. What's it called? The
The
settlements.
illegal settlements.
Yeah, those are
Israel
violations
has
of
never
international
attacked
law.
any country in the world.
Yes, they have. They attacked Syria. They attacked Lebanon,
No,
Egypt.
they have
Are
never
you
attacked
insane?
Syria.
Then
They
the
Guys,
war of
guys,
defended themselves against
please,
1967.
Syria.
try to
Yes,
calm
they have
down.
attacked many
Could you
countries.
post your your sources for the attack so that M can look at something that's
Yeah.
tangible?
I think you're correct as far as them when they attacked Lebanon. Hezbollah is based out of Lebanon, so I think that's technically true. That attacks to retaliate against
No,
Hezbollah
it's not
definitely
technically
happen.
true because they were defending themselves against Hezbollah. So that's
Well, we
not
could
an
say we're
attack.
defending ourselves to attack Russia, right? We're defending ourselves against the possible nuclear strikes of Russia, so we're going to just go all in and go
I think
military
that
on the
would be
ground to
a
Russia.
great idea.
I
I
know.
think it's
That would be an
But Em,
amazing idea.
my point is that saying we're defending ourselves, therefore we're going to aggress, is still an aggression. It's not a defense.
No, it's not.
We have to be more
When you aggress to
responsible.
defend yourself, it's not an aggression at all.
Well, stand next to me, Em. Let's see if I aggress to defend myself.
The thought that it would be great for us to go all in on Russia
You have to have
terrifies me.
evidence that I'm planning to
argument is a
aggress
terrible
you.
argument.
I do. You're very aggressive.
Yes.
You're very aggressive.
Not
I've
not
met few people
physically.
in my life that were as aggressive as you, Em. Very few. And I've dealt with a guy that literally when I was in high school, I dealt with a guy who like hit people over the head with bricks. He was less aggressive than you. I'm not joking. I actually
I'll
very
take it as a
serious about this,
compliment,
Em.
but
He was
Em,
actually a
Em,
very calm guy when he wasn't hitting people with bricks.
Em, you are a tough
thank you,
gal.
Garrett.
I'll
I will take
give
it
Garrett that.
as a compliment.
I'm glad you take it as a compliment.
Oh my God, that's weird.
Is it my turn yet? I've had my hand
No,
up.
it's B's turn actually. Her hand was up before you.
Yeah, I think that Sherry's point is well taken. I think the problem is that we spend we have the when Eisenhower left office, he warned us about the military industrial complex, and the United States keeps increasing our military every year. Trump wants to increase our military budget for next year to $1.5 trillion, even though the Department of War has never passed an audit. The last 8 audits, they have failed, and they keep increasing our military budget, and they profit out of war. There's all these senators and that are buying before this conflict. They're buying Raytheon stocks. They're buying all these they're war profiteering. War is profitable for the rich. And that's one of the reasons why we're involved in all these conflicts, because it's profitable for these people. And it's not profitable for us. It's like we can't pave our fucking roads because we're like bombing Iran and bombing all these people. And it's just an insane reality that we are constantly at war because they make money off of this.
Yep. I agree with that. And I think it's also traceable when you look at the support for wars and the involvement with financial interests. You see it very much entangled. In fact, there are many people who feel pro-war because they think it's good for the economy, and they've left behind any moral perspective completely. And that's neoliberalism for you. But
Sherry, that's interesting. You bring up the moral perspective. Do you think that killing the Ayatollahs and that this hyper-religious theocratic regime that oppressed women and murdered its protesters, do you think it was a good thing that they were killed?
You're talking about the responsibility to protect. and with the idea that we can aggress against the country because we believe their leaders are oppressing the people.
Correct.
And I don't agree with that. No, I think that it's very hard for us to understand religions that other people feel are very much central to their lives. I'm not a religious person, so I can't even imagine it. But I don't think it's for us, for the United States government, to decide who the people of another country see as a good or inspiring leader. I don't think we have a right, in fact, to kill people from another country because
He killed
Well, Sherry,
he killed
Iran has not.
32,000 people of his own.
Yes, almost 20,000. Sherry, Sherry,
Netanyahu, then should we kill Netanyahu for committing a genocide?
Sherry, I'm
No,
sure
because
some people
Netanyahu
would say that. Sherry,
please stop interrupting people. Sean,
yeah.
go ahead.
I thought it was a dialogue.
I was going to say, Sherry, there isn't a long history of theocratic rule in Persia, in Iran. If you look even back to the 1960s, they were very secular. People were wearing miniskirts. It would just look like downtown London back then. So this idea that they have elected and the people there support this and they want this to be ruled by clerics and mullahs is not true. The people there are celebrating in the streets currently that this has happened. In both Iran, the people over there are doing the Trump dance and waving Israeli flags over in Iran. And the same thing is happening in LA and Los Angeles. Many Iranian people who have fled Iran are super happy about this.
There may be many people, and there are many people who agree in various countries with the U.S. coming in and deciding who should lead the country. But I think in general, the value of international law is that another country should not have the power or the right to kill a leader of another country with the claim that there's a responsibility to protect. That's not sufficient reason to go in, because of course when you kill anyone, by the way war works, we cause many casualties, especially of children. Children are the most common deaths in any military conflict, and it's morally wrong to do that. That's why it's against international law.
Got it, Sherry. We know where your morals lie.
32,000 people enough for you to justify killing a leader who shot 32,000 protesters who were unarmed?
You know how many leaders around the world have done that, Em?
No, that was just in a week there, Garrett.
Every single leader in the world that has done that should be shot to death.
We have ICE shooting
Israel
U.S.
has
citizens
killed
right now.
protesters too. So
I
should
think
they
we
be
should
shot to
shoot.
death?
We should shoot Trump to death.
And
Garrett,
Benjamin
Garrett, that's a
Netanyahu
great.
has killed protesters
Trump
too.
is amazing. Trump is defending our country.
No. Garrett's right. We have had.
He's a pedophile.
Garrett's right. We have had multiple meetings where we have talked about ICE shooting people, protesters being killed by law enforcement, where it's, Alex Preddy, Renee Good. In Iran, they've done this
32,000?
Let me help you for a second. They've done this over 10,000 times, what ICE has done over there. They've killed 30,000 protesters. So if it's bad over here, if we're willing to stand up and fight against it over here, surely it's wrong over there.
The question is whether or not we're allowed to invade a sovereign nation.
We only killed 2 of them, one of which was very
I'm going to remove
armed.
you. I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm done. I warned you so many times. Forget it. Ridiculous. No, she's
right.
done.
You're not wrong.
I warned her so many times, and she talked over literally everybody. Everybody. Over and over again. All right. B, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that I looked up how many countries has Israel bombed in the last 5 years. They bombed Gaza, Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, Iran, Yemen, Qatar, Tunisia, Iraq, and the West Bank. That's in the past 5 years, and I can put the link with the sources in the chat.
Thank you. Unfortunately, the person who would have been the most the biggest beneficiary is gone now, but I believed you. But
yeah, I think, there's so many bad people like Kim Jong-un is a terrible person. Should we go and invade his country and liberate all the people from North Korea?
Yes.
No, we shouldn't.
Absolutely, we should.
Okay,
I vote yes.
Should China come and invade our country and liberate all the people from here that are in ICE detention? and they're
You
in
know, I'm from
concentration
South
camps?
Korea. I'm from South
Did they
Korea, and I
did
tell
they
you,
invade us? Did
Jeannie, I
China
want to
invade
hear.
us?
I just want to, just chime in and just quickly say that I'm Ginny. I'm from South Korea, and I was born about the time when North Korea and South Korea separated. So I can tell you what I feel about what's happening in North Korea. It's absolutely horrendous
Yes,
that
but
the people who have to live under Kim Jong-un is just
yes,
absolutely horrible.
Yep.
So
I
yeah,
I
Yeah.
understand that it's a terrible situation, but every country has sovereignty,
Oh
and
my God.
if
Well,
somebody invades if somebody invaded our country, like if China invaded our country or meddled in an election or did something against us, we will lose our fucking minds. We would
but
say,
B,
"How
B, we
dare
already
they
had that
touch
happen.
us?" and all this stuff.
B,
Like
we already had Russia meddle in the last several elections. That's already known.
B,
right.
if you want
So
to B, if you want to hold the morality of upholding international law in one hand and the oppression of the North Korean people for generations and torture and murder of people in the other, this one is going to be more moral in my point of view.
okay,
Now, in
so
yours,
we should go
upholding
and do a
international law
war
might be more
with
moral.
Russia too. Let's go and do a war with Russia. Let's do
Okay.
a war with North Korea because they're terrible. So let's just start World War III with nukes, right? Let's nuke them.
There
Let's
still is
nuke
some
them and kill
pragmatism you have
everybody.
to
So
apply to
guys,
this.
let's calm down. Let's take it down a notch. We're almost at 9 o'clock. Dan has had his hand up and hasn't had his hand up once yet. So I kind of would like to let him speak if that's okay.
Well, it kind of is opportune for it to be so close to 9 and for me to make my comment. My comment is I want to thank Garrett, and I don't want nothing from the man. I want to thank Garrett for putting together this area that we can talk and I can listen, and I want to give him a shout out because he moderated the hell out of this thing tonight, and I really appreciate it, and I appreciate hearing opposing views, or I don't want to say opposing views. I like it when Trumpers are around, people who like Trump. I like that a lot. So thank you very much, guys. I appreciate that big time.
Yeah, I really
I
appreciate.
second and I second and third and blah 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 because Garrett does this every week. He gives us these tremendous gifts by having these meetings that are so what's valuable if you want to use the word. But thank you to Garrett. Thank you as always.
Just one more thing, if I may. I don't hate to interrupt you. I'm sorry. One more thing, if I may. When things get heated, it's not cool because he prefaces everything by saying, "Listen, let's use the logical part of our brains and that kind of stuff." We got to continue being cool here, guys.
Agreed.
Like the whole thing, the whole reason why the whole thing that we have this ability to communicate like this is just ultra fantastic. I mean, I'm sitting here from Canada, and I love listening to this stuff, right? So that's all I want to say. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan. B, go ahead. I'm gonna let you be the last person tonight, if that's okay. Sorry, Sherry.
No, I don't mean to have my hand up. I tried to put it down. I can't.
Okay, I'll put it down. No problem.
Thank you.
Go ahead, B.
B?
B, you're on mute.
Oh, thank you so much, Garrett, for facilitating this. And I understand like it gets heated, but you know, I'm Latina, so I've always been like this. I can't help it. But yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you putting this together.
Yes, and good night, Garrett. I know
Yeah.
you need to go and get yourself ready for a meeting tomorrow. So
Thanks a
thank you
lot, everybody.
again.
Yeah, I
Good
do
night.
need to
Yeah.
prep for that. And thanks especially to Sean and Paul for providing different opinions because I think we have a largely liberal audience. And so I really appreciate them coming and giving a different perspective. Paul will say he's not a conservative, but
Oh, I
Sean
am a
might say the
conservative.
same. But
I'll say I'm not a
I will
Trump
say
supporter.
it's a different perspective than we're typically hearing, Paul. So I appreciate you providing that. So nonetheless, I hope everybody has a great night. And thank you guys for the kind words. But I like to say the guests make the party. It's really all of you that make the events meaningful. So I do my best to facilitate, but really it's all of you that make it fun. So thank you all for being here and being a part of that. So have a
I
great
want
night,
to thank
everybody.
Good
everybody
night.
too. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Garrett. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.